Today we are putting a windshield in a 65 Mustang vintage race car that we've got nearly done. This is not an ordinary windshield though. This is a polycarbonate windshield from Shields Windshields. So why would we use a polycarbonate windshield when we had a perfectly good glass windshield? There are two main reasons on a race car. Number one is weight. This polycarbonate windshield weighs less than half of what a glass windshield weighs. The other thing is it's less likely to break. As you all know, out on the road you can get rock chips. You take that to a racetrack and it's probably 100 times more likely to get cracked from debris on the track or cars kicking stuff up. So you really don't want a glass windshield on a dedicated race car. All right, so why not just go to Lowe's or Home Depot and get a piece of acrylic and make your windshield out of that? Well, there's a few reasons. Number one, it's probably not legal in your rule book. It is not durable enough for a windshield. It has a tendency to crack. It is just not the right material and it cannot be used in a race car. And this is not just a piece of polycarbonate. This is a carefully crafted, stretched, bent windshield that's exactly, we tested it, it's exactly the same size and shape as the original Mustang windshield. So why aren't all windshields polycarbonate? The reason is glass is, while it is not rock resistant, it is very scratch resistant and it lasts long and it's cheap. They've got glass figured out that they can do that very inexpensively. On a modern car, the windshields are glued into place and they actually become part of the structure of the car and add safety to it. The only real disadvantage to a polycarbonate windshield is it scratches more easily than glass. So Shields Windshields puts a coating over all their windshields that greatly reduces that problem. So you can run windshield wipers, you can use cleaner and rags and clean this. You don't have to be super careful with it like you do something that's not coated. All right, so what about the money? A glass windshield from NPD, which is one of our partners on this car, is about 200 bucks. This windshield is probably closer to 500 bucks. So this might seem a little expensive, but if you start replacing glass windshields every race weekend, pretty soon you'll realize the polycarbonate windshield is not a bad deal. Putting a windshield in is not that difficult. You can also just have a glass company come put it in and make it even easier. It takes a few simple tools, but I have a special tool, and that is Mr. Tom Prescott has once again, we're telling him he's going to become a huge YouTube star if he keeps helping us. But Tom has helped me put probably 50 windshields in over the years.
Probably.
And I said, Tom, you want to come over and help us one more time? So Tom, what are your thoughts? Any words of wisdom? Call the glass guy.
Yeah, call the glass guy. Most glass guys, though, would just shun against even thinking about doing this. Most of your glass guys nowadays, they want to glue them in. They don't want to play with the rubber gasket ones, but there is a few out there that's left that will do the old style glasses. For this windshield today, hopefully it's going to be a very simple application here. The only thing we should need is what they call a bone to work the glass in. I brought a couple different hook tools to roll the seal down underneath, and my antique one that I've got here. Roll of tape and some rope. Usually use about a 3/16 rope to rope it in. It's fat enough to have it go around and roll the windshield in, but also it's not too thick or too thin to cut the seal or to wedge it in there.
All right, we've put the rubber seal onto the windshield. A lot of times you're going to need to put a piece of tape around it to hold it on. This one seems to be sticking pretty good. And then you're going to want some warm soapy water to go around the edge and hopefully make this a little easier.
Yeah, you want to lubricate the edge of the rubber here as you're pulling it in, so there's less resistance and less chances of breaking it. So our first thing we're going to do for the installation is to lay the glass upside, or the polycarbonate upside down, and we're going to install the rope around it to rope this piece of polycarbonate in there. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is to install the rope around the windshield. Again, it's about a 3/16 rope, works really well. We always want to leave a little bit hanging out to grab onto. And we've just taken a regular tip off of a urethane tube, caulking tube, and it makes it a lot easier to poke it in and to install it. Saves a lot of time and effort. We'll just insert it into the thing and just run the string along. And once we get to the other string, we always want to bypass it a couple inches. And we'll put everything up here. We'll grab our tape, tape it up out of the way, and we're ready to set the glass. This is the area here where we want the lubrication on it. So we're just going to take the soapy water and go along it. Get her nice and lathered up. This down in here too, that has to sit in the channel. So we'll get a little water on that too.
Another thing to consider when putting a windshield in is you want everything smooth and well painted. If you've got bare metal or any other problems, rust spots or anything, that has to be dealt with ahead of time. It'll leak like a sieve if there's rust or any kind of imperfections in there. So we've gone around this and cleaned it and touched it up a little bit to make it look decent before we put the windshield in.
Okay, now we're ready to set it in.
This can be done with one person. It's way easier with two people. Especially if one of them knows what they're doing.
Okay, we're looking to overlap the seam with this piece here. So we kind of put light pressure to it and start pulling. Whoop, don't push it up. Let it fall down, Tim. There you go. Put it in here.
Maybe back over there. The next part sometimes is the hardest part, but you got to put the moldings back on. Depending on what condition they're in, they're stainless. You can just clean them up a little bit. These are actually in pretty good shape, but sometimes they'll have overspray or not usually pitting, but mainly just some imperfections that can easily,
dirt, grime.
yeah, come out with this. You can do this after it's in the car, but it's a lot easier to do it before it's in the car because you can get all the way around it and you're not going to scratch your paint. And it's just a lot easier. These are also available from NPD. They stock virtually every part for a Mustang, and it's surprisingly inexpensive to restore one of these. That's one of the reasons we chose to race this car, is in the unlikely chance that we damage something. Fenders are cheap, bumpers are cheap, everything's cheap for one of these. So we have a beautiful, clear windshield. Thank you very much for being persuaded into helping us. As usual, you're really good at this stuff. The only other thing to think about is you could put some hold down tabs. That's not a crazy idea on a race car. So as to maintenance or care and feeding, you want to use, you can use Windex, you want to use a nice soft rag, you don't want to use scrapers, you don't want to use lacquer thinner and that sort of stuff. You want to be a little sensitive to the fact that it is polycarbonate and not glass. If you like this sort of stuff, please press the like button, subscribe to our channel. You'll get notified every time we do a video, which is about once a week. And go to our website, grassrootsmotorsports.com. We've got this kind of stuff on there all the time. Every day we're putting stuff up there like this.
Support brands that support Grassroots Motorsports. Get your chemical solutions from CRC Industries. Visit crcindustries.com to learn more.